Hi guys! Today I'm going to show you how to make a pinch pot, and then I'm going to show you how to take two pinch pots, stick them together, and make it into a whistle. So you want to take some clay and smack it into a ball. Then I'm going to take my right hand and I'm going to get my thumb wet and I'm going to start making a little impression in the clay. So it's just like a little divot, it's not a gaping hole or anything. I'm going to get my thumb wet again and I'm going to start turning my clay in my left hand and pushing down with my right hand. I'm doing this very gradually. Imagine a drill. It doesn't go in all at once, it just kind of turns slowly and gets in there. So that's what I'm doing, drilling into the clay. But I don't want to go too far because I don't want my thumb to come out of the clay. So I'm going to stop going in, and now I'm going to start bringing the walls out. If you look at this, one side is a little bit thicker than the other, and that's okay to start out with. I'm going to keep rolling the clay in my hand, and as I go, I'm just pushing on the inside with my thumb, and I'm supporting the clay from the other side. And I'm just kind of going around and around. And every time I go around, it gets a little bit thinner. And if you noticed, it's now elongated. The hole is, you know, deep. It's not like a big wide flat bowl or anything like that. It's actually kind of cylinder shaped where it's going up and down. I'm gonna keep getting the clay wet. You don't want it to be too wet where it's slimy, but you do want it to be easily moving in your hands. Otherwise you could rip right through it. Okay. Now if you find a spot that's like really, really thick, you could stop churning for a minute and kind of push that spot out so that it's thinner, like the rest of the clay. That spot's very thin. I almost put my thumb through it, but I stopped. And you can stop if your hand is on the other side. Now if I was just kind of pinching any direction, I could go through the clay very easily and not even realize that I'm doing it because I don't have my hand on the other side of that clay wall. So that helps you a lot. As I'm going, I'm also being conscious of this lip right here. So right now, I'm not squeezing with my thumb or anything. I'm just letting this slide in between my thumb and my finger in this little groove here, and I'm like compressing this lip. That's very important because if this cracks and breaks, it's going to affect the strength of the entire piece, and it's going to make it really difficult later on. So if you can keep everything nice and compressed right now, it's going to make life a lot easier. Okay. Right now I'm just rolling it to check the thickness. There are some spots that are a little bit thicker and some that are a little bit thinner, and that's okay for a first time. That comes with practice. The thing about pinch pots though is that you don't want to take too much time on them because it's going to become a sloppy mess and it's just going to fall apart in your hands. The more water you put into it, obviously the wetter the clay is going to be, but the clay is just going to suck it in, and the longer you take, the messier it's going to get, and it's just going to fall apart. So I'm not going to work on this one for too very much longer. I'm going to fix a couple little things. Right now I am kind of pushing together on some parts that I think are too thin. So like right here, this wall's a little bit thinner than on this opposite end. So over here, I'm going to take my two hands, hold one over here and one over here, and then I'm going to push the clay together. And it will make a little bit of an overlap, and you can just kind of blend that in, but then that will help strengthen and thicken the clay in that little spot. And it will also help correct any abnormalities in the shape of the pot itself. So I'm going to flip this over and see how it looks. That's okay. You know, we can make this into a whistle. It's not that big of a deal. It's not going to look like this forever. So right now I'm going to put this one to the side, and I'm going to show you how to put together 2 other pinch pots that I made earlier. And as you can see, they're not very beautiful, but they work. So I have 2 pinch pots. Right now they're firm enough that they're holding their own shape, but I can still change it a little bit if I need to, so it's not quite leather hard. I'm going to take my sponge, and I'm going to get this rim on the first one wet. And as you can see, I kind of was smoothing out the rim earlier while I was going, so it's not a big gross mess. Then I'm going to score this. And I actually left all of my tools at school today, so I don't have my cool little scoring tool, but you can use anything. I used to use a fork, so you can use a comb, you can use whatever you want, just as long as you've got some little lines in there. And then I'm going to take some slip. I'm going to put the slip on there. I'm going to put that one to the side for a minute while I get this guy slipped too and scored. And I can see there's a whole bunch of little lines in there. So this one's got our slip on it, and actually I'm gonna, okay. Now I've got these 2, and as you can see, the top one is a little bit smaller than the bottom one, and they don't line up exactly. And that's okay, that happens sometimes. We try to plan out so that they are the same size, but in this case, I did it so that they don't match up exactly, so that I can just show you that you can still be flexible. So I am going to hold it in both hands and push them together. And after I've kind of got that sealed up, there's no like big giant holes that I can tell that are opening up, I'm going to take my modeling tool and I'm going to really dig into this. I'm making some big marks. But this is going to take the clay and kind of meld it together, and that's what we want. We want this to be one piece. So I'm doing that. And I'm not like slicing through the clay, I'm just kind of making surface marks here. And the first time I went up from the bottom to the top, and now I'm bringing the clay from the top down to the bottom. So I'm kind of helping that. Next, I'm going to be smoothing it. This is just continuing in the same steps that I was going, smoothing the clay together. And you'll actually take off a little bit of this gross clay while we're doing this. As you can see, this is going to be a very large whistle. But that's cool because those make really deep sounds. If you want to make some really, really high sounds, you can make a much smaller whistle. You can make them, you know, itty bitty. Alright, now that we've got this thing connected, it looks just like a ball of clay, you know? We can let it dry up a little bit more, and then we can change its shape. Actually, I'm going to roll it on here for a minute. Just kind of even it all out. It's like a big, ugly Easter egg. Alright, so that is the first step of making your pinch pot whistle. And after this dries up a little bit more, I'm going to continue and we're going to make it into the whistle. So we're going to add a mouthpiece, and I'm going to show you how to make the cuts in order to make it a functioning whistle. So let me know if you have any questions.